All right, let's go to New York. First things first, co-host with Chris Carter, Jenna Wolfe as well, my buddy Nick Wright via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Listen, the Michael Thomas deal feels like to me, I said I think OBJ was a luxury for Cleveland. They got plenty of pieces, but he's a nice luxury item. He's a great player. Michael Thomas to me is a necessity for New Orleans. I mean, you got to get Drew Brees help because I watched him at the end of the year, Nick. He looked old, and I love Drew. So I think this kid deserves every penny he made. What did you make of the highest paid receiver contract ever? What do you make of it?
I mean, he's the highest paid temporarily, right? So Julio's going to come in over the top of him. Tyreek Hill might. Amari Cooper has a slight chance of it. But he deserves to get paid, but you're 100% correct. They have to have him. Alvin Kamara is a dynamic player. Michael Thomas is one of the most reliable and productive receivers in football. And that's where their deadly weapons kind of end. Jared Cook could be very good for them this year. He should be the best tight end they've had since Jimmy Graham. But I do think you're a little too low on the Saints. This was a team that last year, after losing the shootout in week 1 to Fitzmagic in Tampa, they did go 13-1 in their next 14 games until they rested everyone in week 17. They then, of course, were a bad call away from going to the Super Bowl. Now, were they a different team the final 5 weeks of the year when Mahomes overtook Brees for league MVP, when Brees came back to the pack a bit? Yes. But when you play in New Orleans, when you can make it to where your quarterback won't have to play cold weather playoff games on a 40-year-old body if you have a good enough regular season, I'm not as worried about the age. My worry for New Orleans is they overcame the emotional devastation of the Minneapolis Miracle. They now maybe have even greater emotional devastation to overcome when they don't think they lost that NFC Championship game. They think it was stolen from them. Can they overcome that again in what I do believe is their last best chance to win a Super Bowl in this Drew Brees era?
I want to shift to Dak because we've both said Dak's got a lower ceiling. I'll give you 3 quarterbacks that I think have a little bit lower of a throw-the-ball ceiling. Trubisky, Lamar, and Dak. The difference is I think Dak is showing us something that we don't want to admit. In his last 8 games last year, he was very good. Now, he had a stinker. He had one stinker. Hey, Brady gets those too. Everybody has those, okay? I think Dak emerged at the end of last year. Once you gave him Amari, Tyron Smith came back. His last 8 games, he completed 72%, 12 TDs, 3 picks, 103 passer rating against 4 playoff teams. We know young broadcasters improve. Young attorneys improve, right? Young political figures improve. Are you being a tad hard on Dak? Did we see something at the end of the year that I don't think we'll see from Trubisky? I don't know if Lamar has a breakthrough ability. I kind of think Dak's getting better. We just don't want to acknowledge it. Do you see any of that?
What I saw at the end of last year was if you give Dak Prescott every single thing a quarterback can ask for, the best running back in the league, one of the best offensive linemen in the league, and a number 1 wide receiver, and a softer defensive schedule, then you know what? Maybe he can look like one of the 8 best quarterbacks in football. That's not a guy that I want to pay $32 million a year for. Dak has every game Dak's ever played except for Zeke's suspension. He's had a top 2 running back behind him. Every game Dak's ever played, he's had a top 5 offensive line in front of him, and most of the time a top 2 or 3 offensive line. As soon as he didn't have great weapons on the outside, the beginning of last season, he fell apart entirely. The Cowboys are doing this backwards. Jerry Jones desperately needs to be right in moving on from Tony Romo for Dak Prescott. When it started to look like he was not going to be right, they then trade away a first-round pick for Amari Cooper, which not only cost them a cheap, good player on a rookie contract, but has a new player jump their best player, Ezekiel Elliott, in the pay line, which I think potentially led to this holdout we're dealing with now with Zeke. Listen, the NFL 100, which is obviously a flawed list, they had 15 quarterbacks in that top 100, and we might disagree on the order of those 15. But there's, I don't think, a single one that you can make the argument Dak is better than. He is, at best, the 16th best quarterback in the league, probably 18th or not. Like, I mean, maybe you can say he's better than Kirk Cousins. I know you want to say he's better than Cam, but he's not. Like, there's just so his best case scenario is 16th out of 32. Like, that's not the guy you pay $32 million a year to, but it's going to be the guy they pay $32 million a year to, and they're going to pay for it for the next 4 or 5 seasons, I fear.
Okay, speaking of that list, I'm going to put you in a tough position. You love Baker, but you're from Houston.
I do.
And you're from Houston.
Well,
and,
kind of.
Yeah, KC Houston. So you've got a lot of peeps down in Houston. So I said this week, we're going crazy now. We're going crazy. Baker finished ahead of Deshaun Watson in the quarterback among players. And I'm like, timeout. Yeah. The numbers aren't close, whereas Baker did, I would say, inherit very nice offensive pieces. Deshaun Watson could not fly in a plane at one point last year because he had a punctured lung. I'm going to ask you, you're a GM today. Do you choose Baker or Deshaun Watson to lead your team for the next 7 years?
In a vacuum, GM today, it's very close, but I choose Baker. Wow. Given the situations they're in, it's not close at all. Like, the situations do matter. And, Colin, you are a far better talk show host than me. But if you had to do it through stringing a tin can, I like my chances. Deshaun Watson's playing for a team whose GM right now, I think, is the former team chaplain of the New England Patriots. Look it up. That is a true story. He doesn't have a left tackle once again. He does have DeAndre Hopkins, but that's about it. Baker has all the pieces. Baker's more likely to be healthy. Baker, over the last half of last year, was playing such exceptional football. And we shouldn't act like the Cleveland Browns, who I think, I might be wrong, but I got to do the math, carry the one. Oh, yeah. In the 2 years before Baker got there, they won one game that he just came to a team, and it's like, man, he did inherit the 95 Cowboys roster. He didn't.
Okay.
He's awesome, and everyone that's around him loves playing with him. And I really like Deshaun. I like Deshaun a ton. I just think Deshaun doesn't have the pieces, and I think Baker's ultimate upside is just a little bit higher.
Wow, I am surprised by that. I really am surprised by that. I think Deshaun Watson is doing what almost nobody in the league could do, which is play behind the worst offensive line in the league, first 2 years in the league.
That's true.
I mean, just awful, and put up, I mean, didn't they win 11 games last year? That's almost unheard of in the NFL. With a bad O-line, it's almost unheard of.
What Deshaun's doing behind that offensive line, he should get credit for. I'm all for building up Deshaun Watson. I'm with you on that side of the argument. I think Deshaun's outstanding. I think Baker has league MVP this year caliber ability. Listen, man, guys in year 2 come in and blow up the league. Mahomes did it. Wentz almost won an MVP in year 2. Jared Goff just went to the Super Bowl in year 3. We saw Russell Wilson win a Super Bowl in year 2. Guys in year 2 can be really great, except for, of course, your guy and Joy's guy, Dak, who in year 2 didn't have the best running back in football for 6 games, and it all fell apart.
All right, Nick Wright. All right, we're about a month out of football season. Nick, it's absolutely great to see you, and have a great day, and thank you for coming on the show.
You too, and I apologize to your guy, Andrew Luck, today, because I was so wrong about him for so long because I didn't know he was injured. So I'll send you that clip. You'll be very happy. I acknowledge Andrew Luck is the guy you said he was. I came on your show and compared him to Ryan Tannehill like a total doofus. I was wrong. Colin was right. I owned it. We're moving on.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.